This is Lisa from MobileTechReview, and this is the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold. Yes, new, more complicated name this year versus the first generation that was just the Pixel Fold. Wasn't that easy to say, but a lot has changed here. That passport-shaped design that sure was unique and in some ways kind of fun, and wider than usual phone display by today's standards, is replaced by something that has a normal aspect ratio display, 6.3-inch OLED, or Super Actua as Google likes to call it, display. That's the same size as the Google Pixel 9 Pro. Kind of cool, right? No weird aspect ratio here. And there's a lot of other things to look at too, which we're going to do right now. So I've been using this since before release date, so I have thoroughly tested this phone, let me tell you. But I'm a real folding phone aficionado, so I really like to make sure I've tested everything thoroughly on this. And first, let's talk about, obviously, the aspect ratio. The display is different, the carry of the phone is different. It is impressive how thin it is in terms of when it's folded, it doesn't feel like such a thick brick in your pocket. Kudos to Google for achieving that. It's a stainless steel hinge with an aluminum alloy cover on it, Gorilla Glass Victus 2 covering the front and back for some sense of durability. Of course, you always have that vulnerable inner display, which is bigger than ever now. 8-inch OLED flexible, or Super Actua flexible, as they call it, display. So it's slightly not exactly square, a little bit wider than it is tall, but pretty close to square, which is the plus and the minus of folding phones. If you're watching a lot of video, for example, 16:9 aspect ratio makes a whole lot of sense. These squarish devices don't. But if you're reading web pages, news, consuming any kind of content, social media, whatever, Discord, then it can make more sense. We have Android 14 on board. Of course, one of the benefits with a Pixel is you get 7 years of OS updates and Pixel feature drop updates and security updates. How they're going to manage that in a way, I don't know, because you would think some features would be so demanding that the Tensor G4 processor wouldn't be able to, keep up. But that's something that's a selling point versus something like the OnePlus Open, which has a very similar aspect ratio overall too, and is a very compelling phone in terms of hardware. But OnePlus is pretty slow to get out software updates, at least to the United States version of the phone. And you got the opposite thing here with Google. You know that you're going to be well supported with software. The processor is another, it's not just a weak point because it's adequate, honestly, but the Tensor G4 processor is still, Google Tensor processor now as fast as the Snapdragons are used in other phones, and even the latest MediaTek high-end processors. But it is well optimized for AI, and since AI is the big buzzword for 2024, and Google Gemini Advanced is included for 1 year, so you save like $239, and Google's AI feature package, which includes 2 terabytes of storage, it handles that stuff really well. I don't see it bogging down at all compared to any high-end Snapdragon phone. But if you're like a hardcore gamer and that sort of thing, and you really want the most in performance, this isn't going to be it. So the phone has 16 gigs of RAM. Yay, that's good. And you can get it with 256 or 512 gigs of storage. We don't go up to 1 terabyte here. And of course, there's no micro SD card slot because Google don't do that sort of thing. For the 5G, at least there is both a nano SIM card slot and an eSIM. Happily, it does run cooler and have longer battery run times compared to the previous generation, and particularly heat was a pain point with previous Tensor processors. Not now. It doesn't get hot to the touch. It doesn't, the minute you go out in the sun, it doesn't say, oh, I'm getting too hot, I can't do anything anymore. So that is improved here. Other creature comforts you would expect: Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.3, ultra wideband, NFC, millimeter wave, and sub-6 5G on board, and SOS satellite service, just like the 9 Pro and Pro XL phones that we reviewed already. So if you're out in a place with no cell coverage or Wi-Fi coverage whatsoever, which, if you go hiking in the mountains, that could happen, you can do satellite messaging, for example, to say, help me, I've fallen and I can't get up. The battery is 4650 milliamp per hour, and it supports 45-watt wired charging, just basic slow Qi charging, wireless charging. At least there is wireless charging. And like I said, battery life is better. Now, the first week I had it, it actually was better. And I don't know, you get into the groove and all your apps are running, your notifications and stuff like that. But it's still noticeably better than the previous generation phone. And it keeps up. It's about equal to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 for battery life, and also the OnePlus Open, if we're going to talk about that. So, software. Google has done much compared to the first generation. When the first generation Pixel Fold came out, there was hardly anything to make use of that bigger screen. Now they've got that side-by-side window experience going on. They do split pane for things like messages and Gmail. If you rotate the phone anyway in Gmail, you'll get split pane messaging. So I was surprised to see, actually, when thinking back to the way it was with the original Fold, that there's actually more going on here. And honestly, for me, split screen is enough. But some people want to have 3 apps going and all that sort of thing. And of course, the Galaxy Z Fold 6, the 6th generation of that product, has even more mature software and more features. So Google has some catching up to do there. But, you know, other than the fact that when you use apps like Reddit, I mean, there's some apps that just never seem to adapt to higher resolution displays. So you're just looking at the same thing you could see on a standard candy bar phone, only stretched bigger, and you're like, why? Why? It's not the Pixel's fault, though, mind you. You know, it's the state of Android and folding phones now. But a lot of apps do take advantage of the bigger screens, and certainly most games are aware and do scale nicely, so they look awful good on this. Finally, there's the cameras. Now, you're not going to get the same camera hardware you do on the Pro 9 and Pro 9 XL. This is just the way things are still with folding phones. To keep them from being even heavier and thicker, I mean, in the case of this one, it is thin, but it weighs 9.1 ounces, which is like 257 grams. This is a heavy phone, people. Anyway, you've got a 48 megapixel main camera, f1.7 lens, and honestly, thanks to Google's computational photography and the tuning of the hardware to match what they can do with software, I still really like the pictures. Yeah, I don't look at the pictures I take with this and go, oh man, iPhone 16 Pro or Pixel 9 Pro immediately. They're really nice looking, and you know, they give the Galaxy Z Fold 6 a run for the money, and even the OnePlus Open, whose cameras are good, but they're not consistent. So sometimes they get weird exposure, too much contrast and stuff like that. This is very consistent. The ultra-wide and the 5x telephoto are not high-resolution cameras. You're talking around 10 megapixel or so. So you'll hit limitations there in terms of absolute resolution of the photo. But again, they look pretty good, and even sample video. And you can see when I go zooming in and out and all that sort of thing, it looks nice. I don't think most people are going to use this phone and say, I feel like I have crappy cameras. Far from it. And of course, you get the Gemini features and AI and Magic Eraser and all that sort of thing. So you're good there if you're into those AI features. So that's the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold for 2024. And you know, because of the aspect ratio of the main display on the outside, I really like it. It doesn't feel awkward the way the Galaxy Z Fold 6 does. And unless, like I said, you're into gaming and all that sort of thing, the performance on this is adequate. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't seem like it's having any problems, and honestly, it plays games okay. It's not that bad. While the software features, a lack of an S Pen and all that sort of thing still give Samsung a foothold in the marketplace too, it's good to see Google advancing this and sticking with the folding form. I'm Lisa from MobileTechReview. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.